Captain Lee Jinho pressed his palm against the cool metal wall of the exploration vessel Unity and smiled. Through the massive viewing window, stars sparkled like diamonds against the black canvas of space. 5 years ago, he had been commanding simple cargo ships between Earth and Mars. Now he was exploring galaxies that humans had only dreamed about. "The consortium ships are approaching," announced Lieutenant Kim Do-yeon from his station. His voice carried excitement that never seemed to fade, even after dozens of these meetings. The young officer had grown up hearing stories about the day aliens first contacted Earth. For him, working alongside 12 different alien species was still magical. Ambassador Park Mingi walked onto the bridge, her formal robes flowing behind her. She had been one of the first humans to learn alien languages, and now she could speak fluently with creatures that looked nothing like humans. Some had tentacles instead of arms, others breathed methane instead of oxygen, but somehow they all got along perfectly. "The Vorthok delegation seems especially excited about today's meeting," Minji said, checking her electronic notepad. "They want to show us their new medical technology. Apparently, they have found a way to regrow human limbs in just 3 days." Dr. Kim Soo-young joined them, carrying a tablet full of research data. Her lab coat had stains from working with alien chemicals, but her eyes glowed with the joy of discovery. "I just finished testing their healing gel on burn victims. The results are incredible. Wounds that would take months to heal are gone in hours." Jinho nodded appreciatively. When the aliens first arrived on Earth, many humans had been afraid. Movies and books had taught people to expect invasion and war. Instead, the Galactic Consortium offered friendship and gifts. They shared technology that solved humanity's biggest problems almost overnight. The Zilani had taught humans how to control gravity. Now, cars floated above roads instead of rolling on wheels. Buildings reached impossible heights because they weighed nothing. Even farming had changed. Crops grew in floating fields that followed the sun across the sky. The Korthax had given humans energy sources that never ran out. Power plants that once burned coal or split atoms were replaced by small devices that pulled energy from empty space itself. Every home on Earth now had unlimited electricity. "Remember when we used to worry about pollution?" asked Communications Officer Han Wubin with a laugh. "The Thranari atmospheric processors cleaned our air in 6 months. My grandmother says she had never breathed so easily in her entire life." On Earth, Minister Choi Hoon-woo was preparing for another celebration. Every few months, the planet held festivals to honor their alien friends. Children learned alien languages in school. Artists created sculptures inspired by alien culture. Musicians composed symphonies that could be enjoyed by creatures with a completely different hearing. The integration had been surprisingly smooth. Young people like Cadet Yoon Sung-jae trained on ships with alien crew members. At first, the language barrier had been challenging, but the aliens had developed translation devices that worked perfectly. Soon, humans and aliens were joking together, sharing meals, and becoming real friends. "The aliens seem to love our creativity," Soo-yang observed, watching a group of Zilani engineers studying human art on her tablet. "They say we think differently than any species they have met. They call us the spark species because we find solutions they never considered." This fascination had opened doors throughout the galaxy. Human engineers worked on alien construction projects. Human doctors studied alongside alien healers. Human teachers shared Earth's knowledge with young aliens who were eager to learn about human culture. The Unity itself was proof of this cooperation. The ship combined human design with alien technology. Humans had created the basic structure, focusing on comfort and efficiency. The aliens had added engines that could travel faster than light, shields that could stop any weapon, and computers that could think almost like living beings. "Contact from the consortium flagship," announced Wubin. "They are requesting permission to dock." "Permission granted," Jinho replied automatically. These meetings had become routine. The aliens would share new discoveries. Humans would offer their own innovations. Everyone would benefit. As the alien ship connected with the Unity, Jinho felt the familiar vibration through the hull. Soon, the corridors would fill with creatures of all shapes and sizes. Some walked on legs like humans, others floated through the air. A few rolled along the floor like living wheels. Ambassador Minji straightened her robes and prepared to greet their guests. Dr. Su-Yang gathered her research materials. Lieutenant Doyon activated the universal translators. Everything was ready for another productive meeting between species that had become the best of friends. Through the viewing window, more consortium ships appeared. Dozens of them, all heading toward the Unity. It was unusual for so many ships to attend a single meeting, but Jinho assumed they had something special to share. "Sir," Wubin called out, his voice suddenly uncertain. "I am getting some strange readings from the approaching ships. Their weapon systems appear to be active." Jinho frowned. That must be a sensor error. Why would they have weapons ready during a diplomatic meeting? But deep in his mind, a tiny voice whispered a warning. Everything had been perfect for 5 years. Too perfect. As if someone had been planning something all along. Ambassador Park Mingji smiled as she looked out at the gathered crowd on Kepler Prime. Thousands of beings from 13 different species had come to celebrate 5 years of friendship and cooperation. The great plaza sparkled with decorative lights that changed colors to please eyes of every type. Some aliens saw different colors than humans, so the celebration included wavelengths of light that human eyes could not even detect. "Today marks a new chapter in galactic history," Minji said into the microphone. Her words were instantly translated into 12 alien languages. "Humans and the consortium have proven that different species can work together in peace and harmony." The crowd cheered in their various ways. Some aliens clapped like humans. Others made musical sounds. The Vorthok created beautiful light patterns with their skin. Everyone seemed happy and excited about the future. Captain Lee Jinho watched the ceremony from the bridge of the Unity, which orbited high above the planet. He felt proud as he listened to Minji's speech. 5 years ago, humans had been alone in the universe. Now, they were part of something much bigger and more wonderful. "The weather is perfect for the celebration," observed Lieutenant Kim Do-yeon, checking his instruments. "Clear skies, gentle winds, comfortable temperature for all species present." Dr. Kim Su-Yang was not at the ceremony. She was working in her research lab on the other side of the planet, studying new medical treatments with a team of Orthodox scientists. They had been making incredible discoveries about how different species could share healing techniques. On Earth, Minister Choi Hyun-woo was preparing for the evening celebration in Seoul. Floating platforms decorated with flowers would carry representatives from every consortium species through the sky above the city. Children had been practicing songs in alien languages for weeks. Everything was perfect. The 5 years of cooperation had brought nothing but good things for humanity. Diseases were cured, technology had advanced, and the universe felt like a friendly place. Then, the first energy beam struck the plaza. The blast came from directly above, cutting through the atmosphere like a sword of pure light. It hit the center of the celebration, vaporizing the stage where Ambassador Mingji had been, speaking just moments before. The beautiful decorative lights exploded in showers of sparks. Captain Jinho stared in shock as more beams rained down from space. "What is happening?" he shouted. "Are we under attack?" Lieutenant Han Wubin worked frantically at his communication station. His fingers flew over the controls as he tried to contact other human ships. "Sir, I am getting distress signals from everywhere. Every human vessel in this sector is reporting attacks." Through the viewing window, Jinho could see consortium ships that had been peacefully orbiting the planet. But now their weapons were firing not at some unknown enemy, but at human targets. The ships that had been friends just minutes before had become deadly hunters. "This has to be some kind of mistake," Jinho said, but his voice sounded uncertain. The attacks were too coordinated, too precise to be accidental. On the planet's surface, the beautiful celebration had become a nightmare. Alien security forces that had been protecting the event were now hunting humans through the burning plaza. Dr. Kim Soo-young heard the explosions from her lab and ran to the window. What she saw made her blood turn cold. Consortium soldiers were moving through the research facility with military precision. They were not trying to capture humans. They were eliminating them. Soo-young grabbed her emergency kit and ran toward the service tunnels that connected different parts of the building. As she crawled through the narrow passages, she heard a broadcast echoing through the facility's communication system. The voice belonged to a Vorthok commander she had worked with for months, a creature she had considered a friend. "The experiment is concluded," the voice announced in perfect, emotionless English. "The spark species has been contained. All research data has been collected. Disposal of subjects will proceed according to plan. Subjects, not friends, not partners, not allies. Subjects." On Earth, Minister Choi Hoon-woo was reviewing the evening's celebration schedule when his assistant burst into the office. "Sir, you need to see this immediately," she said, pointing at the news screens on the wall. The orbital defense platforms that protected Earth were moving. The massive weapons that humans and aliens had built together to defend against asteroids and space debris were turning their guns toward the planet below. The same technology that was supposed to protect humanity was now aimed at human cities. "This cannot be real," Hyun-woo whispered. But as he watched, the first antimatter beam struck the floating district above Tokyo. The entire section of the city simply disappeared in a flash of light. Back in space, the Unity shook as enemy fire struck its shields. Captain Jinho realized that his ship was surrounded by vessels that had been allies just minutes before. The trap had been perfect. Humans had been gathered in one place, celebrating their friendship, completely unprepared for war. "Sir, our weapons are offline," reported Doyon. "The alien technology integrated into our systems has been remotely disabled." Of course it had. The aliens had built the very systems humans were using to defend themselves. They knew every weakness, every backdoor, every way to shut down human technology. As the Unity's hull began to crack under enemy fire, Captain Jinho activated an emergency protocol that few people knew existed. His fingers moved quickly over a hidden panel as he sent an encrypted message to Earth's most secret networks. "Protocol Black activated," he transmitted. "Trust no one. We were never partners. We were specimens in their laboratory." The message shot through space just as the Unity exploded in a ball of fire. But in those final seconds, Jinho smiled. The aliens had studied humans for 5 years. They thought they understood everything about human nature and human planning. They had no idea how wrong they were. Dr. On Jin-woo sat in his hidden laboratory deep inside an asteroid that officially did not exist. While the rest of humanity celebrated their alien friends, he had been preparing for the worst. The asteroid looked empty from the outside, just another piece of space rock floating in the darkness. But inside, it contained one of the most advanced research facilities in human space. "They always seemed too friendly," Jin-woo muttered to himself as he watched the emergency signals flooding his secret communication network. His paranoia had made him unpopular with other scientists. People called him crazy. They said he was ruining the wonderful relationship between humans and aliens. But Jin-woo had noticed small things that others missed. The way alien visitors always asked detailed questions about human weaknesses. How they seemed fascinated by human military tactics and defensive systems. The careful way they studied every human innovation before offering their own improvements. For 5 years, while everyone else enjoyed the golden age, Jin-woo had been building a shadow network. Hidden bases on forgotten planets. Secret research facilities in empty star systems. underground bunkers on worlds that appeared on no official maps. His wrist communicator buzzed with an encrypted message. Protocol Black activated. The words he had hoped never to hear. Begin emergency evacuation sequence, Jinwoo commanded his computer. Across human space, his hidden network came alive. On Earth, engineer Song Do-yoon received the signal in her basement laboratory beneath Seoul, while aliens and humans celebrated together in the streets above. She had been maintaining equipment that the government did not know existed. Her fingers moved quickly over hidden control panels as massive machines deep underground began to power up. Wormhole generators online, she reported through her encrypted communicator. Beginning evacuation of Sector 7. Above her, the floating districts of Seoul were under attack by the orbital defense platforms. But below the city, something impossible was happening. Enormous tunnels that had been secretly built over 5 years were opening. Millions of people who had received mysterious emergency messages were streaming into underground facilities. The wormhole generators had been Jinwoo's greatest secret, using alien technology that the consortium thought was safely locked away. Human engineers had built transportation devices that could move people across the galaxy instantly. The aliens had no idea these machines existed. Initiating transport to Haven Colony, Do-yoon announced, as the first wave of evacuees stepped into the shimmering portal. They disappeared in flashes of light, reappearing on a world that the consortium had never detected. Captain Lim Jae-han commanded the stealth ship Shadow from his hidden base in the Void Nebula. While the consortium celebrated their successful attack, they had no idea that 40 human warships were watching from the darkness between stars. "Sir, we are receiving evacuation requests from 17 different systems," reported his navigation officer, Park Sun. "The emergency network is fully operational." Jae-in smiled grimly. His ships had been built in secret shipyards, using alien technology that humans had reverse-engineered and improved. The consortium thought they understood all human capabilities, but these vessels had been constructed with innovations the aliens had never seen. "Begin rescue operations," Jae-in ordered. "Save as many as we can, but maintain stealth protocols. We cannot let them know we exist." The Shadow and its sister ships moved through space like ghosts, collecting survivors from destroyed human colonies and transporting them to safety. Each ship used technology that combined alien advances with human creativity in ways the consortium had never imagined. On the hidden world of Haven, scientist Nam Jeong was already beginning the next phase of human survival. The planet looked barren and lifeless from space, but underground cities had been prepared for years. Millions of evacuees were arriving through the wormhole network, finding homes in vast caverns that had been carved from solid rock. "Welcome to your new home," Jeong announced to the arriving refugees. "I know this is frightening and confusing, but you are safe here, and we have work to do." Her laboratory was filled with alien technology that had been secretly collected and studied. But Jeong was not just trying to copy what the aliens had built. She was creating something entirely new. "Project Lazarus is ready to begin," she told her team of volunteer scientists. "We are going to enhance human capabilities while keeping what makes us human." The aliens studied us for 5 years, but they did not understand our greatest strength. The project would take decades. Using alien biotechnology combined with human innovation, they would create enhanced humans who could think faster, live longer, and plan with the patience of creatures who measured time in centuries instead of years. While the consortium divided up former human territories, believing their problem was solved, humanity was evolving in the shadows. Hidden colonies were growing, secret research was advancing, and deep in the void between galaxies, human survivors were learning to think like predators instead of prey. Dr. Jinwoo stood in his asteroid laboratory, watching reports from across human space. The official numbers said that 90% of humanity had been eliminated, but the real numbers told a different story. 40% survived, he reported to the Shadow Network. They think we are extinct, but we have simply disappeared. Now, the real work begins. The aliens had made a critical mistake. They had studied human cooperation and creativity, but they had never understood human deception and patience. They thought the experiment was over. In reality, it had just begun. Captain Okungmin had been 13 years old when the betrayal happened. Now, at 63. His hair was silver, but his eyes burned with the patience of someone who had spent 50 years planning revenge. He stood on the bridge of the stealth vessel Patience, watching a consortium trade ship through sensors that the aliens could not detect. Target confirmed, whispered his weapons officer. Lieutenant Go Yoonbi. Like all the crew, she had been enhanced by Project Lazarus. Her reflexes were faster than any natural human, and her mind could process information at incredible speed. But most importantly, she could wait. The Patience was invisible to consortium sensors. Human engineers had spent decades perfecting stealth technology that made their ships appear to be empty space. They had learned from the aliens, then improved on everything they had been taught. Communications intercept complete, reported Specialist Bei Sunhee from her station. She had been working for 30 years to break into alien communication networks. Her fingers moved across controls that looked simple, but contained technology more advanced than anything the consortium possessed. Sunhee had aged slowly, thanks to the medical enhancements, but her mind contained 50 years of accumulated knowledge about alien psychology. She knew exactly how to plant fear in their communications, without leaving any trace of human involvement. The Vorthok are reporting another missing colony ship, she said, with a cold smile. That makes 17 this month. They still have no idea what is happening to their people. The missing ships were part of a carefully planned psychological campaign. Enhanced humans would board consortium vessels, collect intelligence, and then make the ships disappear without any evidence of human involvement. The crews were never found because they were transported to human prison worlds where they provided valuable information about alien weaknesses. Dr. Kwon Min Seo worked from a hidden base deep in space, creating the messages that haunted consortium dreams. Her psychological warfare division had spent decades studying how each alien species experienced fear. The messages she broadcast were perfectly designed to create maximum terror. Uploading new transmission to the Zilani network, she announced to her team. This one should make them afraid to sleep for weeks. The message was simple but terrifying. We remember your faces. We know your names. We are coming for you, one by one. But it was delivered in a way that made it seem like the voices of dead humans were speaking from beyond death. On the former human world of New Busan, consortium archaeologists were trying to understand human culture by studying abandoned cities. They hoped to learn why humans had been so creative and adaptable. But their research kept being interrupted by disturbing discoveries. Excavation. Team leader Vrextile was digging through the ruins of a human school when his equipment detected something unusual deep underground. The scan showed writing carved into the solid bedrock, far below any building foundation. This is impossible, Vrextile muttered in his alien language. These marks are carved into rock that is millions of years old, but the writing is definitely human. When the translation was complete, the message sent chills through the entire archaeological team. Their betrayal was instant. Our vengeance will be eternal. We are still here. We are still watching. Similar messages were being found on every former human world. Some were carved into mountainsides. Others were etched into the metal core of artificial satellites. All of them carried the same promise of eternal revenge. The psychological pressure was working exactly as planned. The 12 species of the consortium had begun to suspect each other. Some thought the messages were created by one of the other alien species as part of a power struggle. Others believed that human ghosts were somehow haunting the galaxy. The Korthax have withdrawn their trade ships from 3 systems, reported Intelligence Officer Moon Taeyong during the weekly briefing on the hidden world of Haven. They are afraid to travel alone. The Thranari are demanding extra security for all their colonies. Engineer Yu Sung-ho had become the master of turning alien technology against itself. In his secret laboratory, he had spent decades creating weapons that could take control of consortium systems and make them attack their own people. The beauty of this approach, Sung-ho explained to his apprentices, is that they trained us to understand their technology. They taught us how their systems work. Now we use that knowledge to destroy them. His latest creation was a computer virus that could spread through consortium networks and randomly shut down life support systems on alien ships. The failures looked like accidents, but they were carefully planned attacks that left no evidence of human involvement. The enhanced humans had learned to think in much longer time periods than their ancestors. While normal humans planned in months or years, the survivors of the betrayal planned in decades. They were patient predators who could wait for the perfect moment to strike. Captain Oh Kungmin gave the signal to his crew. The consortium trade ship below them would soon experience a mysterious malfunction that would leave it drifting helplessly in space. By the time rescue arrived, the ship would be empty and its cargo would be gone. Remember, he told his team, we are not just taking revenge, we are preparing for the final phase. Every piece of information we collect brings us closer to the day when we can finish what they started. In the shadows between stars, humanity had become something the galaxy had never seen before. They were no longer the creative, friendly species that had once sought friendship among the stars. They had evolved into something far more dangerous. They had become the hunters. And the hunt was just beginning. The morning started like any other across consortium space. Alien workers went to their jobs, children attended schools, and traders moved goods between star systems. But by noon, something was terribly wrong. Admiral Shin Yeji stood on the command bridge of the massive human dreadnought Retribution, watching displays that showed dozens of alien worlds. At exactly the same moment across the galaxy, the lights on those worlds simply went out. Phase 1 is complete, reported her communications officer. All primary consortium worlds have lost power. Their defense systems are offline. Yeji was 93 years old, but the genetic enhancements made her look and feel like a woman of 30. She had been a young engineering student when the betrayal happened. Now she commanded the largest fleet humanity had ever built. Begin Phase 2, she ordered calmly. Dr. No Tai-wook had spent 70 years creating the perfect computer virus. It was not just software that destroyed alien systems. It was much more clever than that. The virus learned how each alien species used their technology, then turned those systems into weapons against their creators. On the Vorthok homeworld, the massive defense platforms that protected the planet began firing at each other. The same weapons that had once destroyed human cities now rained destruction on alien settlements. But the attacks followed a pattern that the Vorthok recognized with growing horror. They are using our own defensive tactics against us, whispered General Kraxfell as he watched his planet's shields collapse. These are the same attack patterns we used against Earth 50 years ago. The Zelani had taught humans to manipulate gravity. Now their own gravity control systems were crushing their floating cities, the beautiful aerial metropolises that had soared above their homeworld for thousands of years came crashing down in carefully planned sequences. Commander Jang Sumin monitored the destruction from her stealth ship hidden near the Zelani system. Each falling city had been calculated to create maximum psychological impact. The aliens would understand that their own technology was being used to destroy them exactly as they had destroyed humanity. The Korthax bioweapon facilities are reporting critical containment failures, announced Intelligence Officer Park Ji-yoon. Their own weapons are evolving beyond their control and attacking their creators. This was the most poetic justice of all. The Korthaks had been proud of their biological warfare expertise. They had created diseases designed specifically to kill humans. Now, those same laboratories were producing creatures that hunted Korthaks with terrifying efficiency. The atmospheric processors that had cleaned Earth's air were now poisoning alien worlds. The Nexari communication networks were broadcasting messages that drove their users insane. Each species faced destruction using their own greatest achievements, but the humans were not simply destroying randomly. Each attack was carefully planned to match the specific crime that species had committed against humanity. The species that had poisoned human colonies died from poison. The species that had used gravity weapons were crushed by gravity. The species that had created biological weapons were consumed by biological horrors. On the dying Consortium command station above the Vorthok homeworld, the last group of alien leaders huddled together in a shielded conference room. Their fleets were gone, their worlds were burning, and their people were dying by the billions. How is this possible? Demanded High Commander Vextar of the We eliminated the humans decades ago. We studied them completely. We knew all their weaknesses. A new voice answered from the station's communication system. It was Commander Jiang Suman, speaking from her hidden ship. Her words were translated into all 12 alien languages simultaneously. You studied us for 5 years and learned nothing, she said. Her voice was calm and cold. You thought we were specimens in your laboratory, but we were students in your classroom. The aliens realized with growing terror that every moment of their friendship with humanity had been a learning experience. While they had been studying human weaknesses, humans had been studying alien technology, psychology, and military tactics. You taught us your languages, Suman continued. You showed us your weapons. You explained your strategies. You revealed your fears. We learned everything you knew, and then we learned to do it better. The last phase of the human revenge was not destruction, but choice. The surviving aliens could flee to the edge of the galaxy and never return, or they could stay and die with their worlds. Most chose exile, loading themselves onto whatever ships still functioned and disappearing into the dark spaces beyond known civilization. Dr. Imhound stood in the rebuilt gardens of Sol, watching the night sky as the last consortium ships fled into deep space. She was 127 years old, ancient by normal human standards, but still sharp thanks to the enhancements. She had been one of the original scientists who developed Project Lazarus. Let them run, she said to her assistant. Let them carry our message to whatever species they find in the darkness. Let the galaxy know what happens to those who mistake human kindness for human weakness. Earth was green again. The floating cities had been rebuilt, but this time they were protected by weapons that no alien species could understand or counter. Humanity had reclaimed their home and their place in the universe, but they were no longer the trusting, friendly species that had once celebrated cooperation with alien neighbors. The betrayal had changed them into something far more dangerous. They had learned patience, planning, and the art of revenge that lasted generations. Children in human schools learned the story as a warning. Their betrayal was instant. Our vengeance was eternal. The galaxy would remember.